So, as the presidential campaign is in the home stretch now, I wonder what the October surprise is going to be this year. Maybe a declaration of, not a declaration of war. We don't do that anymore. We just we order troops to invade. But now that we're after Labor Day and the campaign is in its final horrific stage, the question for a lot of us has become less about what Americans know of the orange ape's lack of character, but whether or not Americans give a damn. This is something that has puzzled me, irritated me, made me furious for the entire time this son of a bitch has been in office and before. How could we not care that a thug, a gangster, a fascist is leading the country? Man. Anyway, the ape appears to be betting that Americans don't care. He keeps his attacks up on people who have suffered the ultimate in war. Families of young people who have been killed. And the top brass. Even as the son of a bitch tries to claim that he has the utmost respect for the military. No, you don't. And that's the thing that I think has finally worked its way through to me. The Christians that support him, and they're not really Christian, they're not followers of Jesus of Nazareth. No, they're not. But they have co-opted the term Christian. If I'm going to write it, I'll use small c, because these evangelical white so-called Christians who support this monster for whatever reason. I don't give a shit. Whatever reason they have that they support him, it's a sick, twisted, disgusting reason. But even though they've decided to do that, these small c Jesus-killing Christians, the military, which is used to bullshit because they put so much of it out, they can spot it. They smell it. They get the stench from this man. They can smell him a mile away. So when he claims respect for the military, the people who make the decisions in the military, I'm not talking about some redneck kid who joined the military because dad said, well, you got to go get your military training because you know the Negroes are going to rise up. And, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the military leadership, most of whom are have college degrees. And not in military tactics, but in literature and science. They know that Trump is a bullshitter. They know that he does not respect them. But because they do respect the Constitution, they keep their mouths shut. And they let this sorry son of a bitch ramble on and say whatever he wants to, knowing that day is coming when he will either get the hell out of town or they will put him out. So, in addition to that, the ape dismisses efforts to, in the most brutal way, to try to come to terms with the racist past and present of this country. I mean, racism was written into our founding documents. I always talk about the hypocrisy of the framers who put together the Constitution. But the documents themselves, through omission, were racist documents that supported slavery and genocide. By omission. I mean, it's not written in there. We are going to enslave as many millions of Africans as we can import to the United States. It's not written in there. But it was written by people who were already practicing that. And it's not written in the Constitution, we are going to commit genocide against the people who have been living here for thousands of years. No, it wasn't written in there, but that was the official policies of the United States government. Blah, blah, blah. Right? Right? So the ape dismisses efforts to try to come to terms with this hideous racism that has punished and ripped this country apart and hurt people of color, destroyed their lives, made them sick, killed thousands, millions of people of color. And Trump doesn't want to deal with it. Trump promotes more of it. Son of a bitch. But he tries to convince the suburban white ladies that he's not a racist. I'm not a racist. All right, come on, get off that suburban white lady stuff. Suburban white people. People who fled the city because, well, there's too many of them living there now. I watched that happen here in Atlanta. Just a great city. And where Mayor Maynard Jackson, who's now dead, when he was elected mayor in 72, 73, 74, somewhere around there. First black mayor in Atlanta. He got to work to revitalize this city. Atlanta in the early 70s was not Atlanta as it is now. It was a big city, but it wasn't the urban center of the South. And Maynard Jackson, among other things, he set up something called the Mayor's Council of the Arts. I mean, it was just a great time. I arrived here to stay in 74, although I had lived here in 1970. But I arrived here to stay, and Atlanta was just, you could just feel the energy. Things were changing for the good. But then the white folks got all scared and skittish, and white flight started happening here in Atlanta. Well, the political class, the black and white leadership, more or less said, okay, if they're going to flee, let them flee. We're going to turn Atlanta into a world-class city. And they did. If you've ever visited Atlanta, if you come to our city, it's really a great city. I'm talking about the structure of the city now. And it continues to get even more interesting. Now, I don't like all the building, all the urbanization. No, of course not. But it looks good. It sure looks good. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Trump trying to convince the white folks who fled the city back in the 70s and 80s that he's really not a racist. No, of course you're not, you lying son of a bitch. So, as CNN reports, just as voters' threshold for bad behavior was tested in the final days of 2016, when Trump's vulgar on-camera comments about molesting women rocked the race, Americans this time around find themselves again forced to decide whether Trump's character really matters to them. In the broad scheme of things back then, it didn't matter, and he won. I mean, think about those couple, three sentences in this piece by Kevin Liptak at CNN. They're true. They're absolutely true. Apparently, this claim, if it still exists, that the United States civilian population has any claim at all on a moral sense, an ethical sense, a sense of decency. It's all bullshit. I mean, we put in office, with the help of the Russians, but enough white folks in the North, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, in Iowa, oh my God, put in office a racist woman-abusing, insane, ignorant son of a bitch, Trump, who has spent 4 years saying to the people who put him in office, too bad, sucker. Oh, I'll keep patting you on the back with one hand while I pick your pocket with the other, but don't pay any attention. That's just Joe Biden's lies. I'm really a good guy. I love the military. I love Christians. I love Christians because the same way I like hors d'oeuvres. You know, they're so easy to gobble up. They're so stupid, these Christians. Oh, my God. But 2020 could be different because since the election in 2016, everybody in this country, well, actually everybody around the world, but right, screw them. Everybody in this country has been bombarded with example after example of the orange ape using crude, sexist, or racist language, which has erased any notion that a few morons had that he could rise to the dignity of the presidency. Bullshit. All he has done is destroy, destroy, destroy. Do you realize how long it's going to take after this monster is removed from office? How long it's going to take to get this country on a track that makes sense, that has some kind of logic or reason or decency or equal justice to it? Do you realize? Whew. Well, how many different ways can all this stuff be said? Huh? How many different ways? I know I've been trying to say the same thing using different language for 3 years now. It doesn't work. I mean, you reach a point. I don't care if you do a podcast or don't. It doesn't matter. You reach a point in all this where there's just nothing more you can say. And that's the point that I think most of us in this country have gotten to. Even the brain-dead assholes who support him, how do they support him? They just jump around like a bunch of, I don't know, drops of water on a hot pancake griddle. They just jump around waving this filthy stars and bars and screeching their racist and ignorant bullshit. It's the same thing over and over and over. Show up with my camos and my guns. Yeah, oh, you bastards.
Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to The Ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.